This handy guide will boost your critical thinking skills, which are key for making smart decisions and solving problems, both personally and professionally. You'll learn how to spot and tackle biases, question assumptions, connect with different viewpoints, and strengthen your mental toughness. Ideal for students, professionals, and anyone looking to improve themselves, this book empowers you to reach your goals and excel in every aspect of your life. Chapter 1: Introduction to Critical Thinking. Have you ever noticed how some folks breeze through challenges while others find it tough to make even basic choices? The secret lies in critical thinking. This powerful skill unlocks your true potential, both in your personal life and at work. But what is critical thinking really? And why is it so important in our fast-paced, info-overloaded world? Many people get it wrong. Critical thinking isn't about being combative or ignoring others' ideas. It's a disciplined way of thinking that means breaking down, assessing, and piecing together information to make solid judgments. It's about stepping back from your instant reactions and looking at things fairly, considering various views and possible results. A lot of folks think critical thinking is something you're born with. Either you have it or you don't. But that's not true at all. It's a skill you can learn and improve over time, like a muscle that gets stronger the more you use it. As you build this skill, you'll find yourself better at tackling tough problems, making smart choices, and facing life's uncertainties with confidence. The perks of mastering critical thinking go way beyond school or work. In your personal life, it helps you form better relationships by enhancing your communication and empathy. You'll be able to see different perspectives, resolve disputes, and make choices that reflect your values and goals. In the workplace, critical thinking is a hot commodity for employers in all fields. It's what differentiates leaders and innovators from those who just play it safe. As you start this journey to sharpen your critical thinking skills, you'll find it's not just about changing your thoughts. It's about shifting how you approach everything in life. You'll learn to question what's taken for granted, challenge your own biases, and tackle problems with fresh creativity and an open mind. This book will walk you through this change, offering practical tools, exercises, and insights to help you cultivate a critical thinking mindset. In the coming chapters, we'll dive into the basics of critical thinking, explore the details of logical reasoning, and unmask the biases that can cloud our judgment. You'll pick up powerful strategies for solving problems, making decisions, and communicating effectively. But before we jump into those topics, we need to look inside ourselves. To really master critical thinking, we first have to understand the intricate landscape of our own minds. As we wrap up this opening chapter, take a moment to ask yourself, are you ready to question your assumptions, broaden your perspective, and tap into your full potential? The road ahead won't always be easy, but the benefits are beyond measure. In the next chapter, we'll kick things off by venturing into the intriguing world of your thought patterns, the first step to reshaping your mindset for lasting personal growth. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Grow to the Top and turn on notifications so you can get more self-improvement tips to power up your growth. Chapter 2: Understanding Your Thought Patterns. Picture your mind as a vast, uncharted land. Within it, there are hidden gems of insight and creativity, but also tricky traps of bias and misunderstanding. To navigate this complex terrain successfully, you've got to get to know it well. That's where the journey of critical thinking truly kicks off, with self-awareness. Self-awareness is the heart of critical thinking. It means being able to watch your own thoughts, feelings, and actions as if you were an outsider. This skill helps you spot the patterns in your thinking, recognize your strengths and weaknesses, and see how your experiences and beliefs shape how you view the world. One great way to boost your self-awareness is through mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness helps you focus on your thoughts and feelings right now, at least without judging them. It can be as easy as taking a few minutes daily to just sit quietly and watch your thoughts come and go. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns, emotional triggers, and habits in your thinking that might have slipped by you before. Another great way to understand how you think is through reflective journaling. Writing down your thoughts, experiences, and reactions gives you a clear view of your inner self. As you keep this journal, it can show you insights about how you make decisions, respond emotionally, and what beliefs you hold. You may find that you jump to conclusions in certain situations or blow small issues out of proportion. Becoming aware of your thought patterns might reveal some tough truths. We all have cognitive biases, those little thinking errors that lead us to make irrational choices. These biases are deeply embedded and often happen without us even realizing it. For example, confirmation bias makes us look for information that backs up what we already believe, while ignoring anything that contradicts it. Meanwhile, the availability heuristic tricks us into thinking events we easily remember are more likely to happen than they really are. Spotting these biases in yourself is tough, but crucial if you want to sharpen your critical thinking skills. Acknowledging them helps you push back against their impact on your choices and problem solving. One solid way to reveal hidden biases and assumptions is by asking others for feedback. This takes a bit of bravery and openness to criticism, both important for growth. Reach out to trusted friends, colleagues, or mentors and ask for their honest views about what you do well and where you could improve. Their insights can offer a fresh perspective that you might miss on your own. As you dig deeper into your thought processes, it's normal to feel some resistance. Your mind might put up a fight when facing old beliefs or habits, but don't forget that discomfort means you're growing. Getting comfortable with this concept is essential for building the mental agility needed for critical thinking. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a much clearer view of the intricate landscape of your mind. But don't forget, this is just the start. As we progress, you'll discover how to use this self-awareness as a base for sharpening your critical thinking skills. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the key principles of critical thinking and start putting together the toolkit that will help you tackle even the most complex ideas. Chapter 3: The Basics of Critical Thinking. Imagine being an adventurer at the brink of a huge unexplored wilderness. The vast area in front of you represents your mind, and the map you hold is your guide to critical thinking. But just having a map isn't enough. You also need the right tools and skills to make your way through this tricky terrain. In this chapter, we'll arm you with the basic tools of critical thinking: logical reasoning and evidence-based thinking. Logical reasoning is the backbone of critical thinking. It's all about making conclusions based on solid evidence and clear arguments. At its essence, logical reasoning means figuring out your premises. Those are the starting points or assumptions, and following them to their logical end. It might seem abstract, but it's something we do every day, often without even noticing. Take a simple example. All cats are mammals. Fluffy is a cat, so Fluffy must be a mammal. This is basic deductive reasoning. If the premises are true, then the conclusion has to be true as well. As we dig deeper into logical reasoning, you'll learn how to spot and create more complex arguments, while also identifying weaknesses in reasoning called logical fallacies. Logical fallacies are mistakes in reasoning that can lead us to wrong conclusions, even when the premises seem valid. Some common ones include the ad hominem attack, where you dismiss an argument because of who is making it instead of focusing on the argument itself. The false dichotomy, which is when only two choices are presented, ignoring other possibilities, and the slippery slope, where one event is assumed to trigger a series of related events without any proof. When you learn to spot these fallacies, you can catch flaws in other people's arguments and avoid them in your own thinking. This skill is super important today, with all the persuasive messages we face, whether from ads or political speeches. But just using logic isn't enough. Critical thinking also means being committed to using evidence. It's about drawing conclusions from facts and reliable information, not just feelings or personal stories. This means looking for trustworthy sources, checking the credibility of the evidence, and being ready to change your mind when you come across new and convincing information. To develop this evidence-based way of thinking, you need to nurture a few key attitudes: curiosity, open-mindedness, and intellectual humility. Curiosity drives us to ask questions and look for new information. Open-mindedness helps us consider ideas that might challenge what we already believe. Intellectual humility means recognizing that we don't know everything and that we can learn from others even when we disagree. These attitudes create what we call a critical thinking mindset. This mindset is all about questioning assumptions, even your own, being skeptical of claims that don't have evidence, and committing to ongoing learning and growth. Building this mindset isn't always a walk in the park. It means stepping out of your comfort zone, facing your own biases, and sometimes admitting when you're wrong. But the benefits are huge. With a critical thinking mindset, you'll be better at navigating complex issues, making smart decisions, and engaging with different viewpoints. As we wrap up this chapter, you should have a solid understanding of the core principles of critical thinking. You get why logical reasoning and evidence-based thinking matter, and you're working on adopting the attitudes needed for this mindset. But just knowing these principles isn't enough. To truly master critical thinking, you need to apply these skills, especially when facing one of the biggest hurdles to clear thinking, your own biases. In the next chapter, we're going to dive into the interesting world of cognitive biases. We'll see how these biases shape our thinking and discover some solid strategies to tackle them. Chapter 4. Overcoming Cognitive Biases. Picture this. You're playing chess, feeling pretty good about your strategy and predicting your opponent's moves. Then it hits you. Half of your pieces are just not showing up. This is similar to the challenge we face with cognitive biases. They're the unseen players in our minds, quietly steering our decisions without us even noticing. In this chapter, we'll shed some light on these hidden influences and take back control of our mental game. Cognitive biases are like little traps our brains fall into. They distort our thinking and affect how we make choices. But remember, these aren't flaws or signs of being less intelligent. They're simply our brain's way of simplifying things. These mental shortcuts, called heuristics, can help us in day-to-day life. But when we encounter tricky situations that need critical thinking, they can lead us off track. Take confirmation bias, for example. It's our inclination to look for, interpret, and remember information that backs up what we already believe. This is why we quickly latch onto evidence that aligns with our views and overlook or doubt anything that goes against them. So, if you're convinced a particular diet is the best, you'll probably share articles that support that idea and ignore studies that suggest otherwise. Then there's the anchoring effect. This one makes us rely too much on the first piece of information we come across when deciding something. It explains why the starting price of a car can sway negotiations, even if the price doesn't really mean much. The availability heuristic is another bias that makes us think events that come to mind easily happen more often than they really do. That's why many people are more scared of flying than driving, even though car accidents are actually way more common. The first step to overcoming these biases is to recognize them. But just being aware isn't enough. We also need effective strategies to push back against their impact. One great method: actively look for information that challenges your current beliefs. This doesn't mean you went. You don't have to change your mind on everything, but it's essential to consider different opinions. Try following news outlets or thinkers who see things differently. Join in on respectful discussions with folks who hold opposing views. The aim isn't to win, but to expand your understanding. Another great tip is to practice mental flexibility. This means intentionally thinking about other explanations or outcomes in any situation. When you catch yourself rushing to a conclusion, take a moment to pause and ask, what other possibilities am I missing? This simple question can open up new ways of thinking and help you avoid narrow-mindedness. Building a habit of seeking out different perspectives can also help you tackle biases. When facing important choices, chat with people who come from different backgrounds or have different experiences than you. Their insights can shine a light on blind spots in your thinking and bring up factors you might not have thought about. It's also important to embrace intellectual humility, recognizing that your knowledge isn't everything and that there's always something to learn from others. This mindset makes it easier to admit when you're wrong and to adjust your views when new information comes along. Remember, changing your mind isn't weak, it's a sign of growth. As you work on overcoming your cognitive biases, you might feel some pushback from your own mind. Our biases run deep, and confronting them can feel uncomfortable, even scary. But that unease means you're stretching beyond what feels comfortable, and that's where real growth takes place. By the end of this chapter, you should have a solid grasp on common cognitive biases and ways to counter them. You're learning to be flexible and open-minded enough to see beyond your own viewpoint. Recognizing biases and thinking flexibly are just pieces of the critical thinking toolkit. To truly master these skills, you'll want to apply them to real-life challenges. Are you ready to test out what you've learned? In the next chapter, we'll dive into effective problem-solving techniques, examining how to tackle complex issues in a systematic and creative way. You'll learn how to tackle big, tough problems by breaking them down into bite-sized pieces and coming up with fresh ideas. The journey is about to get tougher, but also much more rewarding. Chapter 5: Smart Problem-Solving Strategies. Picture yourself in front of a huge, messy knot. At first, it looks impossibly complicated, with no clear way to start or finish. This knot symbolizes the tough challenges we face in life, intimidating, complex, and seemingly unsolvable. But with the right tricks, even those complicated knots can be undone. In this chapter, we're going to dive into some strong problem-solving strategies that will change how you tackle challenges. The first thing you need to do is clearly define the problem. Often, what looks like one single issue is really a bunch of connected problems. By chopping the big problem into smaller, easier pieces, you can spot potential solutions more easily. This process, called problem decomposition, is like picking out the individual threads in our knot. Once you know the main parts of the problem, it's time to gather some information. This step is super important and often ignored. Many people jump straight to solutions without really understanding the problem first, which results in weak answers. So cast your net wide when gathering info. Listen to different viewpoints, consult experts if you can, and look for patterns that might lead you to the root causes of the issue. Now that you've got a solid grasp of the problem and some relevant info, it's time to brainstorm some potential solutions. This is where your creativity shines. Brainstorming is a great tool at this stage. The trick is to keep judgment at bay at first and let the ideas flow freely, no matter how wild they might be. Sometimes the most creative solutions come from ideas that sound a bit crazy. After you've jotted down some possible solutions, it's time to weigh them. This is where your critical thinking comes into play. Think about the pros and cons of each option, how realistic they are, what might happen, and any unintended fallout. Be as objective as you can in this part, setting aside your personal biases. After you've done some careful thinking, pick the best solution. Find a promising solution and create a plan to implement it. Break the solution into manageable steps. Assign roles if you're working with a team and set clear deadlines. But don't forget, problem solving doesn't stop after implementation. It's important to keep an eye on the results and be ready to adjust if necessary. One of the best techniques in problem solving is learning to reframe the issue. Sometimes how we define a problem can limit our solutions. By viewing it from different angles, we might discover fresh ideas we hadn't thought of before. As you sharpen your problem-solving skills, you'll likely hit a few bumps in the road. You might feel stuck, overwhelmed, or frustrated. And that's okay. Those feelings are part of the journey. Take a step back, give yourself some breathing room, and come back to the problem with a clear mind. Often, the answer appears when we stop trying so hard to find it. By the end of this chapter, you should have a solid toolkit for tackling tricky problems. You'll see the importance of clearly defining issues, collecting information, brainstorming and evaluating solutions, and putting your chosen strategy into action while keeping track of how it goes. But remember, effective problem solving is just one part of the critical thinking puzzle. To really master these skills, we need to sharpen our ability to analyze information and arguments clearly. In the next chapter, we'll dig into the art of analyzing information and arguments, giving you the tools to tell fact from fiction and solid reasoning from faulty logic. Chapter 6: Analyzing Information and Arguments. Imagine yourself as a detective, right at the scene of an intellectual crime. You're faced with a tangled mess of claims, evidence, and conclusions. Your mission? Untangle this web, distinguish truth from fiction, and highlight flawed reasoning. This is what analyzing information and arguments is all about. It's a vital skill for any critical thinker. At the core of this skill is the ability to break an argument down into its basic parts. Every argument, no matter how complicated, has three main components: claims, premises, and conclusions. Claims are statements about what's true or what actions should be taken. Premises provide the reasons or evidence that back up those claims. The conclusion is what the argument aims to prove or convince you of. Let's look at a straightforward example. All dogs are mammals. Fido is a dog, so Fido is a mammal. Here, all dogs are mammals and Fido is a dog are the premises, while Fido is a mammal is the conclusion. Breaking down arguments like this makes it easier to check how strong they are and spot any weaknesses. Once you've identified the parts of an argument, the next move is to evaluate the evidence. This means asking some key questions. Is the evidence relevant? Is it trustworthy and from a credible source? Does it really back up the conclusion? Watch out for anecdotal evidence or cherry-picked data that doesn't show the whole story. As you dig into arguments, you'll see patterns in reasoning. Some are solid and make an argument stronger, while others are flawed and weaken it. Take our Fido example. That reasoning pattern, called a syllogism, is valid. If the premises are true, then the conclusion must be true. But many arguments fall into invalid reasoning traps, like the slippery slope fallacy that claims one event will lead to a whole chain of related events without proof. For example, saying if we allow same-sex marriage, then next people will want to marry animals is a classic slippery slope. Another common mistake is mixing up correlation with causation. Just because two things happen at the same time doesn't mean one causes the other, like how ice cream sales and drowning incidents might both go up in summer. That doesn't mean ice cream causes drowning. As you practice your argument analysis skills, keep an eye out for hidden assumptions and unstated premises. Sometimes what's left unsaid matters just as much as what's actually said. For instance, when someone claims, "We should cut taxes to help the economy," they're assuming that lower taxes always boost economic growth, an assumption worth questioning. Building these analysis skills takes practice. Start by applying them to your daily life. Look at ads, political speeches, or opinion articles in newspapers. As you dive into this process, you might notice that a lot of arguments that once felt convincing fall apart when you really look at them. Keep in mind, though, that the aim here isn't to win fights or prove anyone wrong. It's all about getting a clearer grasp of complex issues and making smarter choices. By honing your analytical skills, you're arming yourself to sift through the flood of information we deal with daily, picking out the good insights from the misleading claims. By the end of this chapter, you should feel more assured in your ability to break down and assess arguments. You know it's crucial to spot claims, premises, and conclusions, weigh the evidence, and notice the usual patterns and flaws in reasoning. But in a world that's more connected than ever, effective critical thinking goes beyond just analyzing single arguments. We need to engage with different perspectives and blend insights from various viewpoints. In the next chapter, we'll look at how to interact with diverse perspectives. We'll build empathy and learn to weave these different angles into our decision-making process. Imagine stepping into a room painted in all sorts of colors, with each shade symbolizing a unique viewpoint on life. As you move around, your perspective shifts, revealing fresh combinations you hadn't seen before. This colorful display isn't unlike the diverse opinions we bump into in our interconnected world. In this chapter, we'll explore how engaging with these varied perspectives can deepen our understanding and enhance our critical thinking skills. The importance of seeing things from different angles can't be stressed enough. When we open ourselves up to new viewpoints, we challenge our assumptions, expand our understanding, and often come up with richer solutions to tricky problems. It's like adding more colors to our painting. The more we have, the more vibrant and detailed our picture of the world becomes. Yet jumping into diverse perspectives isn't always a walk in the park. It pushes us out of our comfort zones and asks us to face ideas that might shake our core beliefs. Yes, it can feel uncomfortable or unsettling at times, but that's part of the journey. It's often that very discomfort that sparks the biggest growth and insights in us. A great way to find new perspectives is to intentionally seek out information that challenges what you already believe. If you usually read liberal stuff, try checking out conservative articles and flip it if you're the other way around. If you're into science, dive into some humanities literature. You're not trying to change your mind on everything, but to grasp different viewpoints and the thoughts behind them. When you engage with these varied ideas, it's super important to really listen. That means hearing what others are saying instead of just waiting for your moment to jump in. Try to get not only the words, but also the reasons behind them. What experiences shape their thoughts? What values or beliefs do they hold? Building empathy is a key part of this process. Empathy lets us look at the world from someone else's perspective, even if we're not on the same page. It helps us see that, at the core, most people are just trying to do what they believe is right, based on their own experiences. One effective way to boost empathy and understand diverse views is through steel manning. It's like the opposite of straw manning, where instead of attacking a weak version of someone's argument, you construct the strongest version of it, even if you ultimately disagree. This approach gives you deeper insight into their position and strengthens your own critical thinking by challenging you to engage with the best version of opposing ideas. As you get better at seeing things from different angles, decision-making will feel both tougher and more rewarding. You'll have a wider range of choices and a deeper understanding of the possible outcomes of your decisions. A handy technique to mix in multiple perspectives is to play devil's advocate. Argue against your favorite option, or have team members advocate for different views. This can help expose gaps in your thinking and lead to stronger decisions. It's key to remember that exploring different viewpoints doesn't mean you have to let go of your own beliefs. We're not aiming for a dull agreement where every opinion is seen as equal. It's about broadening your understanding, questioning your ideas, and getting to more thoughtful conclusions. As we wrap up this chapter, you should feel more aware of why diverse perspectives matter and how to engage with them in a practical way. You've learned the value of really listening, building empathy, and mixing different viewpoints into your decision-making. But remember, engaging with diverse views is just part of what makes decision-making effective. To truly sharpen this vital skill, we need to dive into various strategies that can guide you through tough choices. In the next chapter, we'll look at powerful decision-making techniques that will help you handle everyday decisions and even life-changing ones with clarity and wisdom, especially when things are uncertain. Chapter 8. Decision-making strategies for success. Imagine standing at a crossroads, with many paths stretching out in front of you. Each path stands for a possible choice, and the road ahead is wrapped in the fog of uncertainty. That's what decision-making is all about. Picking a path when you don't have all the information and can't predict what's coming next. In this chapter, we'll check out strategies to help you confidently navigate this tricky landscape. Effective decision-making is not a one-time choice. It's a process. It starts with clearly defining what decision you need to make and gathering the right info. It might seem easy, but lots of poor decisions come from not framing the problem correctly or missing key data. Take the time to really grasp the decision at hand and collect as much relevant info as you can. Once you have that information, the next step is to identify and weigh your options. This is where your critical thinking comes into play. Think about what could happen with each option, both in the short run and long run. What are the risks and benefits? How do these choices fit with your goals and values? Think beyond just the obvious options. Look for creative alternatives that might not jump out at you right away. A great way to weigh your choices is by using a decision matrix. You simply list your options and the criteria that matter, then score each choice based on those criteria. This helps you compare different options fairly and find the one that suits you best. As you think through your choices, remember to find a balance between logic and intuition. Sure, analyzing the facts is key, but don't ignore your gut feelings. Your intuition often comes from your subconscious, picking up on patterns from the past. The trick is to walk the line between using reason and trusting your instincts, rather than leaning too heavily on one over the other. Another important part of making decisions is handling uncertainty. Sometimes we just don't have all the information we wish we could have. One way to cope with this is scenario planning. Picture different futures and think about how your decision could play out in each one. This can help uncover possible risks and opportunities that you might have missed. Be mindful of common pitfalls in decision-making too. One is analysis paralysis, where you get so bogged down in gathering info and weighing options that you never actually decide. Remember, often it's more crucial to make a timely decision than a perfect one. Another pitfall to watch for is groupthink. That's when a group values harmony over the best choice, leading to poor decisions. To avoid this, welcome differing opinions and think about having a devil's advocate to shake things up. As you sharpen your decision-making skills, you may face moments when you feel stuck or overwhelmed. When that happens, try techniques like the 5 whys to dig deeper into the issue, or the Eisenhower matrix to prioritize based on what's important and urgent. Sometimes, just changing how you view the problem can lead to new insights. Remember, the goal of these strategies isn't to remove all risk or uncertainty. Instead, they're meant to guide you toward making smart, well-thought-out choices. Make sure your choices match your goals and values. No matter how solid your decision-making process is, there will always be some uncertainty. The trick is to get comfortable with that uncertainty and be ready to adjust when new information comes in. As we wrap up this chapter, you should feel armed with several strategies to boost your decision-making skills. You get why it's crucial to frame problems clearly, gather the right information, weigh your options fairly, and handle uncertainty well. But remember, making good decisions is just one part of the bigger picture. To really succeed in our complicated world, we have to build mental resilience, the ability to adapt, learn, and grow when facing challenges and setbacks. In the next chapter, we're diving into powerful strategies that will help you build that mental resilience. You'll gain the tools to tackle tough times with confidence and turn failures into chances for growth. Chapter 9. Building Mental Resilience. Picture yourself as a strong oak tree, standing tall in the middle of a storm. The winds are fierce, and the rain lashes down, but your roots are deep, and your trunk stays solid. That's what mental resilience is all about. Being able to weather life's storms, bend without breaking, and come out stronger on the other side. In this chapter, we'll discover how to nurture this essential quality and use its power to improve your critical thinking and overall happiness. Mental resilience isn't just about slogging through tough times or putting on a brave face. It's a process that helps us adapt well when faced with hardships, trauma, or stress. Resilience lets us bounce back, learn from our mistakes, and even flourish under pressure. The cornerstone of mental resilience is being aware of and managing our emotions. This doesn't mean hiding or ignoring what we feel. It's about developing emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our feelings effectively. By building this skill, we can approach challenges with clarity instead of reacting impulsively. One effective way to enhance your emotional intelligence is through mindfulness meditation. This practice helps you focus on the present moment, acknowledging your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Practicing mindfulness regularly can boost your self-awareness, lower stress, and help you manage your emotions better. Another key part of being mentally strong is having a growth mindset. This idea, made famous by psychologist Carol Dweck, means believing that we can improve our skills and intelligence with hard work, learning, and persistence. Those with a growth mindset see challenges as chances to grow instead of threats to their self-esteem. They view failure as a chance to learn, not as a measure of their value.